All right, we're here in the West Cycle offices, and I'd certainly like to welcome along a special guest, somebody that everyone in the cycling community will know and have supported hugely over the last few months. Sitting here with Sabine Bird, welcome along to our West Cycle offices.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's great to have you along. Reason that we wanted to sit down and have a bit of a chat today, obviously you've just been involved in what is actually ultimately known as the biggest bicycle race in the world, so to speak. You competed in RAAM, which is the Ride Across America. Can you take us through what actual RAAM is as an event, and then we can maybe talk through some of the earlier stuff around your training, etc. But RAAM, tell us about it.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So the race itself has been running for the last 35 years, and it's for good reason known as the hardest race in the world. And the reason is that you're crossing not only 12 states, but nothing is flat. So you're going across the Rocky Mountains and the Appalachians, and you have to deal with high altitudes. You have to deal with deserts. And I remember one stage we started at 50-degree heat, and we finished at 55-degree heat. So there's a lot that comes to it, but the biggest issue with the race across America is that you only have 12 days, which means that you can't afford to sleep unless you're really fast. But if you go too fast, you have no chance at all at making it through. So altogether, there's a lot of planning that goes into a race like RAAM,
Sure.
just because of all the factors that are working against you.
Yeah, look, as I said, I wanted to chat through the training and everything, but so RAAM itself, so as you alluded to, 1982 was the first year that they started that event. So in general, it's over 5,000 kilometres in distance, 50, I think you said 52, I was going to say 50,000 metres of climbing, 52,000 metres of climbing, 12 days. So what gave you the inspiration to actually want to go and do that? Because it's a solo event for you specifically. You mentioned earlier that you're the only Australian solo rider out of 8 females. What was the motivation for you to even think about doing that?
Well, I qualified for it.
Absolutely.
It's a good starter. But no, like RAAM is it's a challenge that has my name all over it. Not only because it's an ultra endurance event, but it's something that people don't even think about attempting, and that's something I love to do. I like getting out of the comfort zone, and if there's an event that is remotely ridiculous, then I'd love to give it a shot. That's who I am as a person.
And is that like a personal challenge for you? Like you like to push yourself beyond, because you've done so obviously the 12-hour or 24-hour would have been. Was that your first endurance cycling event?
The 24 hours. Yeah. I've done a few of those.
Yeah.
Which I kind of feel a little bit ashamed to say, because even though I've done plenty of 24-hour races, in the world of ultra endurance racing, that means nothing.
You're right.
A 24-hour race is nothing.
Yeah, can't even get you in the zone for understanding of that. Any heroes in that solo type of marathon riding for you? Is there any specific sort of heroes that you look up to?
Oh, yeah, there are plenty actually.
Yep.
Yeah, they're crazy people out there, and some of them I still haven't figured out yet how they actually make it through. So they're those RAAM repeaters. They're actually people that come back after finishing, which is great. Many of them have a bit of a military background.
Okay.
What motivates me is that many of them failed the first time they attempted RAAM, and they failed for the same reason that I only made it through halfway.
Sure.
But they came back, and they came back extremely strong. And so their names like Strasser, the Austrian rider, and Shona Hogan, the American hero.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of others. There's an incredibly energetic Austrian woman that I grew very fond of, Alexandra Meisner, and she's very, very strong. She's always smiling. So
always smiles, but like yourself.
Trying to follow that.
So to put it into perspective, we're currently watching the Tour de France at the moment. This race is 30% longer, and as you said, you got a 12-day block to get it finished in. So the end result for you this year probably wasn't exactly what you had hoped to achieve, but talk us through how the event went. We'll talk through training, that type of thing, but the outcome of the event for you so far for this 2019.
Actually, it was a tremendous event at the end of the day. We didn't finish, and we didn't finish because of a few medical issues,
sure,
which are quite common in that race. But what we were very proud of, the whole crew worked very hard to help me get through the first week. And that was important because in that first week you have the most difficult stages of the entire race. So we made it through the Rockies, we made it through the deserts, we made it through long days of not sleeping, and so like we were quite proud of where we got to.
Should be, yeah.
And we just, it was much safer and much more sensible to stop where we stopped.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I'm actually quite glad that we stopped there, but it could have gone way worse. But we certainly have unfinished business, and we certainly have all the motivation and plans in the world to get back.
Great. So how long ago did you decide that this was going to be your goal?
That was pretty much a 15-month preparation.
15-month preparation. And can you talk us through that? So you're part of the Various Racing team, and I know, a big part of that is, training and measuring your training, etc. So how did you put that into perspective as far as your training patterns and your build up over that 15 months?
Yeah, that was actually quite interesting. My body has changed a lot within a 12-month period. But for starters, if you do a lot of endurance training, you lose fitness, short, sharp fitness that you need for the normal racing. So it was very difficult for me to actually race, and really my racing got worse and worse as my endurance training progressed.
Of course.
But nevertheless, I enjoyed it. It just meant long hours on the saddle and finding the motivation to keep going even if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Means getting up when it's cold, raining, and when it's nighttime. But just to push through that and not just give in to the craving of finding your way back into the comfort zone, usually the bed. It was a tremendous experience. But also interestingly, after about 12 months, it seems the switch flicked. So I couldn't read my own perceived efforts anymore, and it wasn't matching the power data that I was producing, meaning that even though when I felt tired, I was still able to produce way higher power outputs than what I were used to. So perceived effort changed rapidly, and all I had to do is look at my data rather than at perceived efforts or like the emotions of the day, because it was probably inaccurate anyway. Yeah,
because certainly what you were probably experiencing in your head was different to what your body was producing.
So it's this push to keep going when you really don't want to keep going. That's something that you really need to learn and train for RAAM. And everything I say right now is nothing compared to the real RAAM racers out there that have done it several times.
Sure.
Because the resilience that they developed over the years is tremendous.
And look, you certainly wouldn't have been able to do it with the support crew that you had. So we saw some great social media stuff, and we'll talk through that a bit as well. But you had a team. You built a team of people that were there to support you. So that was just friends and family and people who wanted to be involved.
Yeah, so we tried to put a crew together that we were quite certain they would get on well under severe circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to prepare for something like that, because it's close to telling someone they have to go through trauma now.
Yeah.
And you don't know how they react. So, but they were pretty good. They were very organized, and they worked really hard, and were sleep deprived as well, which was to be expected. Because at the end of the day, 6 people is not enough for a solo RAAM racer. You need at least 8, if not 10 people around you to make it work properly. So we weren't a skeleton crew, but again, I'm really proud of how they pushed.
Exactly.
Yeah, we did really well as a rookie team. That's for sure.
So if there's other people out there crazy enough like yourself to want to give RAAM a crack, would you have any advice? What would be the first thing that you would say to the crew?
I would definitely say yes, but I would be open for plenty of advice. Like there's so much advice to be given, but also just to take care of yourself out there and don't go to the brink of dying, which is not so unlikely.
No. Thanks a lot for coming in, Sabine. It's really great to get an insight into RAAM and what that was all about for you, and we look forward to seeing you on the line Sunday.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great.